Hello everyone. 僕と一緒に英雄になろう。この身をくべよ、余人よ、来世に暁を。その手抜け殻よ、空虚だ。その手烈日よ、天を引き裂け。僕と一緒に英雄になろう。運命に空虚、余人よ、来世に暁を。星々を燃やし尽くそう。
求めるものを行くさ
痛いわね。
これは
満ち溢れる愛の中で光を輝かせましょう。愛で私を心に刻んで、妖韻よ、黎明を照らして。
優位、不朽不滅をもって発光をかけ。
あなたを守り導こう。
今を永遠に。
冷静に人に。
未来は絶対だ。この身をくべよ、抜け殻よ。烈日よ、天を引き裂け。空虚だ。抜け殻よ、余人よ、来世に暁を。炎がまだ足りない。空虚だ。僕と一緒に英雄になろう。その手星々を燃やし尽くそう。炎がまだ足りない。抜け殻よ、運命に屈する気はない。余人よ、来世に暁を。空虚だ。僕と一緒に英雄になろう。抜け殻よ、烈日よ、天を引き裂け。炎がまだ足りない。空虚だ。余人よ、来世に暁を。僕と一緒に英雄になろう。運命に屈する抜け殻よ、烈日よ、天を引き裂け。空虚だ。余人よ、来世に暁を。抜け殻よ、僕と一緒に英雄になろう。憎しみにあふれる烈日よ、天を引き裂け。その手星々を燃やし尽くそう。俺が
け止める。
二人に不可能はないわ。
茨をこくよされ
前へ進む明日のために。
満ち溢れる愛の中で光を輝かせましょう。用意よ、黎明を照らして。
竜よ、不朽不滅をもって発光をかける。
この身をもってあなたを守り導こう。冷静で人に
未来は絶対だ。
さざ波を起こす今を永遠に。
この身をくべよ。余人よ、来世に暁よ。抜け殻よ、空虚よ、その程度。抜け殻よ、僕と一緒に永遠になろう。空虚よ、その程度。炎がまだ余人よ、来世に暁よ。星々を燃やし尽くそう。運命に屈する気はない。抜け殻よ、烈日よ、天を引き裂け。僕と一緒に永遠になろう。抜け殻よ、その程度。炎がまだ足りない。空虚よ。僕と一緒に永遠になろう。星々を燃やし尽くそう。運命に屈する気はない。抜け殻よ、余人よ、来世に暁よ。空虚よ、烈日よ、天を引き裂け。僕と一緒に永遠になろう。空虚よ、余人よ、来世に暁よ。星々を燃やし尽くそう。抜け殻よ、烈日よ、天を引き裂け。その程度。炎がまだ。空虚よ、僕と一緒に永遠になろう。抜け殻よ、血で鍛えよう。その程度。紛争を刻む。炎がまだ。烈日よ、天を引き裂け。僕と一緒に永遠になろう。運命に屈する気はない。余人よ、来世に暁よ。でも
結末は紡がれた通りに。
Hello, everyone.
どうぞめくりましょう。永遠の一ペ
金石の意志黎明を灯す。天地を支える。
記憶は流れ星。して。
Avatar. Every.
My eyes are up here, baby. Are you looking at the tattoo?
No, I'm looking at the hair on your arms. You know, women I deal with, they don't have hair on their arms.
Yeah.
まだ強敵がいるわ。
You will.
Oh, Dad, have you seen that new Chainsaw Man movie yet?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, okay. Well, you should check it out when you get a chance. It's really good.
Actually, we can watch it right now if you want to.
Oh, you about to buy it? Nice.
Buy it? Did they stop making fire sticks? This hit the stick same day it came out.
Hey, Dad, this is a really good movie. You sure you want to watch it in this quality?
Nothing wrong with this quality, boy. It look better than your baby pictures.
Dad, come on, be for real. You cannot watch a movie this good in this quality. Come on, you know this is unacceptable, right?
I'm gonna need you to turn off the talking. This hit the stick same day it came out.
何寝ぼけとるって。
子供の
Hey Dad, this is a really good movie. You sure you want to watch it in this quality?
Nothing wrong with this quality, boy. It look better than your baby pictures.
Dad, come on, be for real. You cannot watch a movie this good in this quality. Come on, you know this is unacceptable, right?
I'm gonna need you to turn off the talking.
Dad,
What? What do you want?
there was a shadow that just walked across the screen just now.
Shadows? Ain't that one of Denji's powers?
They're not part of the plot. You know that, right? These are people walking in front of whoever is recording this in a theater. You know that, right? That's a person getting up to go take a shit.
Listen, you know we got a rule against spoilers. If you're gonna keep talking, you're gonna have to go. There's nothing wrong with this version. You tripping.
Okay, I'm not gonna say nothing no more. I'm not. This how you wanna watch it? I'm gonna be quiet.
もっと自分の力を理解しなくちゃ。
Oh God, what the? No, you know what, Dad? No, I can't take this. No, Dad, no. I cannot let you watch this like this. This look terrible. Are you not affected by the fact that I'm standing right here?
What's up, man? How do you come up with this stuff? Yeah, that's it. Finished it. Got to the end of it. All right. All right. Here you go.
Dad, let me ask you a question.
Anything, son? What?
So how was the movie? How was it?
Eh. Graphics could have been better, but, you know, what you expect? It's all right. Graphics could have been better, but, you know, what you expect? It's all right. Some of the scenes, some of the scenes when he was using his shadow power, it was kind of blocking, well, the action that was happening behind, the power. I think they, should at least fix that.
I'm running away.
Overall, I'm gonna say kind of vanilla, with a sprinkle or two here. I don't know, average.
I'm running away.
Not gonna do any backflips about it, but might do a tuck and roll or something. Expect it a little more.
I don't care. I'm running.
Honkai. 姉弟子が手伝ってあげる。 頭を冷やしましょう。私の番。氷のベッドで寝かしつけてあげる。助けるように待ちましょう。作戦は決して
一切の障害を相当いたします。
頭を冷やしましょう。私の番。
I've been wanting to
I'd like to ask you. I'd like to ask you something. I mean, you know, all right. It occurred to me, having watched MTV over the last few months, that it's a solid enterprise and it's got a lot going for it. I'm just floored by the fact that there's so few black artists featured on it. Why is that?
I think that we're trying to move in that direction. We want to play artists that seem to be doing music that fits into what we want to play for MTV. The company is thinking in terms of narrow casting.
That's evident. It's evident in the fact that the only few black artists that one does see are on about 2:30 in the morning or to around 6. Very few are featured predominantly during the day.
No, that's a...
I'll say that over the last couple of weeks these things have been changing, but it's a slow process.
I know, it's funny, I think people have different perceptions. When you wind up watching, let's say you watch an hour or 2 or even 3 a day, people somehow come away with different ideas about what we are doing. We don't have any kind of day parting for anything, let alone a black artist day parted out of what would be, quote, prime time. We don't have that.
Because one sees a lot on the there's one black station on television that I keep picking up. I'm not sure which station it's on. But there seem to be a lot of black artists making very good videos that I'm surprised aren't used on MTV.
Well, of course, also we have to try and do what we think not only New York and Los Angeles will appreciate, but also Poughkeepsie or Midwest. Pick some town in the Midwest that will be scared to death by Prince, which we're playing, or a string of other black faces.
That's
and black
very
music.
Interesting. Isn't that interesting?
You know, we have to play the music that we think an entire country is going to like, and certainly we're a rock and roll station now. The question would be asked: well, should since we're in New York, should PLJ play, the Isley Brothers? Well, you and I might say, yeah, because we have grown up in an era when the Isley Brothers mean something to me, and so do the Spinners, even way after the Isley Brothers. But what does it mean to a 17-year-old? Well, if you talk on the phones to these guys like I did when I was in radio, it's
Well,
scary.
I tell you what it means. I tell you what maybe the Isley Brothers or Marvin Gaye means to a black 17-year-old.
Ah.
And surely he's part of America as well,
No
isn't
question, no question. And that's why you're seeing those things.
Do you not find that it's a frightening predicament to be in?
Yeah, but less so here than in radio.
And is it not? Well, no, don't say. Well, it's not me, it's them. Is it?
No,
Is
well, that's
not?
why
Is it not possible that it should be a conviction of the station and of other radio stations? To be fair, it does seem to be rampant through American media. Should it not be a challenge to try and make the media far more integrated in music, especially of anything in musical terms?
Absolutely, I think it's happening because white music and white musicians are now starting to play more than ever, more than they have lately, let's say in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
What black artists have been into. And now, hopefully, the lines are going to start to blur. And when we play a band like ABC,
yeah,
well, there's white and black kids who are enjoying it, and all of a sudden, well, it's a little bit easier for a white kid to understand it. The fact is, quite frankly, I could even point you towards a letter in the new issue of The Record, the magazine The Record, responding to an article by Dave Marsh, that this kid just ranted about what he didn't want to see on MTV.
Well, that's his
problem. In no uncertain terms, well, what I'm saying though is that there's, as you say, there's certainly a lot of black kids and white kids who may want to see black music. There's a ton of them who are, it's not like it was in '67 where you say, yeah, I'm not into that, you know, but you are, yeah. Now it's, you're into that, I don't like you. And that's scary, and we can't just turn around and go, well, look, this is the right way. We can only teach, I think, a little bit at a time.
Interesting. Okay, thank you very much.
Does that make sense? Valid point?
I understand your point of view.
Okay. Okay. Can't just turn around and go, well, look, this is the right way. It's not like it was in '67 where you say, yeah, I'm not into that, you know, but you are, yeah. Now it's, you're into that, I don't like you. And that's scary, and we can't, it's '67 where you say, yeah, I'm not into that, you know, but you are, yeah. Now it's, you're into that, I don't like you. And that's scary, and we can't just turn around and go, well, look, this is the right way. We can only teach, I think, a little bit at a time.
Interesting. Okay, thank you very much.
Does that make sense? Valid point?
I understand your point of view.
Okay. Okay.
ちゃんの価値ちゃんと見極めてね。
こいつでぶん殴られてえのか。
火力上げちゃおっか。ニトロフューエルはいかがですか？
騒ぐな。
全部丸見えね。や移して防衛モード起動、殲滅モード。これこそが知恵の伝道。さえ月よ輝け。
私は帰ってきた。騒ぐな。桜をせよ。時
覚えたわよ。私のお家にいらっしゃい。交渉は終わりです。満ちて今宵月を捧げ。
私のレベルその弱をして傷つけられるので時の流れに逆らうとしよ
う。これこそが知恵の伝道。絶縁障壁。新月が来る。殲滅モード。
大松となるがいい。褒美を垂れろ。
痛くしちゃうか。掃除対象。流れてはびこりなさい。防衛モード起動。
褒美を垂れろ。
手をつなぎましょう。私のお家にいらっしゃい。三月よ輝け。掃除対象。ロックオン。塵となってくる。
私は帰ってきた。
この古臭い世界に妥協するというの。
Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt.
Ashley.
And we're about to watch season 1 episode.
Personally, is no such thing as a bi man. Personally, is no such thing as a bi man.
When a person likes to have sex with the same sex, then you are gay or homosexual, if you will. Now that's fine. If that's your thing. But when a man says that he wants to have sex with men and women, that's not cool with me. I don't think that men can be bi. Men are gay.
You were dating a guy in a relationship and he told you he was bisexual or had a male partner in the past, would that be a red flag or make a difference?
I would appreciate his honesty, but for me it would be a red flag.
Okay, so you wouldn't be able to do it?
It's not that I wouldn't, I just wouldn't want to. I think one is just because, you know, you have a certain level of confidence as a woman, and when you allow your man to go out with his friends, you want to make sure that's just a friend. It's almost like saying if I dated a heterosexual guy, that his best friend is female, but he and his best friend are hanging out 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, that's a red flag.
Right.
So now if my male friend is saying, my male partner is saying that he likes men as well, now he's hanging out with his male friend constantly, let's say, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, now I'm going to think about it.
Right.
So it could be an uncomfortable feeling just as far as trust and that level of intimacy.
Anytime you deal with the same sex, no matter on what level, it makes you gay. It's not such a thing as bisexual. Either you're heterosexual or you're gay.
If a man is getting penetrated by another man is gay. It is not bisexual just because you are attracted to two different genders. No.
Ain't that the definition?
Bi is like with females too, though.
Female, you're a lesbian. I totally agree. I just feel like bisexual is just another word for making it comfortable for dating the different genders.
So there's no in between. That's what you're saying. You one or the other.
Exactly.
You're either gay or straight. No such thing as bisexual. Bisexual is only there for like a fantasy, an experience. Bisexual is only there because most people, especially men, don't want to say they're just gay. Because you always like one sex more than the other. There is nobody on here that could rebuke what I just said.
Why do we hate bisexual men so much? No, seriously, like, why do we hate bisexual men so much? I see a lot of hatred on social media pertaining to bisexual men, and I'm just over it. As a gay person, like, I'm just over just seeing it. Like, people just feeling like, oh, well, once you do something with a guy, like, you're just gay. Like, there's no such thing as being bi. Or they just feel like bisexual men don't exist. And I'm just here to make a video just shedding light on this situation. I know this is a conversation that's talked about a lot, so I know it's nothing new to hear this stuff, but I just kind of want to get down to the root of it. And I just kind of want to talk about, you know, everybody just being biphobic because they just wouldn't, you know, on their reasoning on why they wouldn't date a bisexual man. My name is Aquadante. If you don't know who I am, love to come on here and do conversations like this. I love sharing my life story with my story times and other things or whatever. So if you just happen to skim through my content, you like what you see, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, show you some support. I really appreciate that. Back to this whole bisexual thing. Like I said, I'm just very annoyed with it. And I don't know if you guys watched the first season. Well, I don't know if y'all watched a show called Insecure. It's my favorite show, by the way. But yes, y'all, Insecure, first season or whatever, we're going to get into the character Molly. Now, Molly, y'all, at this time, she was in her 30s. She was, you know, she was in her career. She just wanted a man really bad. So she was doing a lot of dating. She was on a lot of dating apps or whatever, meeting guys in person sometimes. But she ran across this guy named Jared. Actually met him in person. And when she met him, you know, Jared was a cool guy. Jared was very cute. He was very handsome. He was working at Enterprise. One thing Molly did want a man that was on her level in terms of financial, you know, stuff like that, like basically status. One day Molly was having a conversation with Jared, and basically Jared had just told her how he let a dude suck his dick, and it was a thing where he just experienced it, or whatever. Jared had just told her how he let a dude suck his dick, and it was a thing where he just experienced it or whatever, and it never happened again. Mind you, Jared was not bisexual, y'all. It's just something that he tried. Molly first found that out, y'all. Molly was super turned off. She just felt like he was gay. Like, it wasn't even a thing where, like, she even gave the dude a chance to even know, like, if he was bisexual or not, even though he wasn't. But, y'all, just situations like that, like, it's just very annoying when y'all think of a dude doing something with a dude and they like women at the same time, y'all just automatically label them as gay, and that's not fair. I do want to kind of get into the gay perspective on why some gay men may feel like they wouldn't date a bisexual man, because I was once that gay. Like I said, I did a video on this before, and basically I just kind of felt like when I was dating bisexual men, y'all, like, it was just a thing where I was just overthinking, overanalyzing everything. Me being a man and, you know, him telling me that he liked women too, I used to always put myself in a position where I just couldn't trust him. I couldn't trust him or whatever. And I think with that whole thing, I was just projecting. And I feel like nobody should be in a relationship where you don't trust a person. And I feel like some people, they just do that when it comes to bisexual men. Like, okay, well, I may not be enough for you because you like both. And that's not true, y'all. That's not true.
Leo, are you gay?
I'm bi, actually.
I was always scared to date bisexual people because I felt like if I'm dating a guy, I would not be able to give him everything, and he would want to have a girl sometimes, and I would be so...
That was my whole thing, y'all. Like, I just feel like I wasn't enough dating bisexual men. But like I said, it just all went down to me just not trusting the person who I was with, and I was dictating my only experience with one bisexual man or whatever, and just automatically categorizing this one dude over every bisexual man.
Jealous? How do you navigate it if you're very horny, for example?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to the person. Once you're with someone, you're with them for them. It doesn't really matter what they have to offer. They just have themselves. Whether you want pee-pee sometimes or something from the female, navigate through it, and you just realize you're there for them and you're not there for any other desires at the end of the day.
What would you say, like, your biggest struggle being a bisexual person?
Girls are not so understanding, whereas guys are. They'll be fine with you being bi. They realize you can have fun with both. If they're a bisexual girl, I think it's much easier because they understand you can just sometimes want things from other people.
I've heard that before, y'all, from bisexual dudes, because I have a couple of bisexual friends, and a lot of guys, I always ask this question. I'd be like, so, like, why do I always mainly see you guys with dudes more than women?
Please stop asking bi people why they hook up with men so much more often than they hook up with women. It's not about preference, and much more to do with the fact that I can talk to 3 different women for more than 20 minutes at a bar and still strike out every time. But hooking up with a man goes something like this. Hey, you're hot. Hey, you're hot. And then you hook up, and that was it. So that's why.
Now, I kind of want to get into some perspective of a woman. I'm not saying she's speaking for all women, but I do want to kind of just talk about it because she did get over 1 million likes on this. So we're going to watch this video.
To the women that don't really date bisexual, pansexual males, right? Why is that?
How you doing? I'm personally just not attracted to it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want another man coming to me as a man or a woman. I'm not sure how that works. It's not that I don't think that you're masculine. There's plenty of masculine men that want to do butt stuff. I don't want to do butt stuff with y'all.
Okay, and that's where we're going to pause because this is where the biphobia is starting to kick in. Who said anything about... Okay, and that's where we're going to pause because this is where the biphobia is starting to kick in. Who said anything about butt stuff? Like, y'all already be prejudiced to stuff that y'all don't even know what y'all talking about. Like, let's just keep watching it.
As far as the is it because I can twerk better than you comment, yes. I don't want to look back at the club and see you bouncing that ass. That's just something I'm not going to be attracted to. I guess my question is, why do you care? We live in a world that seeks validation so much.
This is what I be talking about, the biphobia, but let's just finish watching this video, child.
Much that people use all of their energy to care about who won't date them, then spending that same energy caring about who will. I believe bisexual men deserve loving relationships. I'm just not gonna be the one to give it to you. Thank you.
What? Child. Anyway, so.
It's not about validation, you guys. It just all goes down to you just being biphobic. Just say you biphobic and just let it go. Because, like, y'all literally, like, that whole video, her reasonings didn't even make sense. Like, you're just basically making assumptions like, who said every bisexual dude twerks? Who said every bisexual dude do this and that and third? Like, y'all have to really get out of y'all asses when it comes to this shit. Like, then you start your video off with, I know every gay man is not masculine. We talking about bisexual men, baby. Y'all, this is our reality to people who they just genuinely feel this way. Like, it's annoying. Now, being that we kind of spoke about biphobia, I want to get into the definition of it. Having or showing a dislike or a prejudice against bisexual people.
Personally, it's no such thing as a bi man, because to me, gay, when you're gay, that means you attracted to men. So even if you fucking with a girl, you still attracted to men because you will go back to a man. But a girl can be bisexual.
Bro.
No. It's the same concept, just a different gender. The same. There's no such thing as a bi man. Because to me, gay, when you're gay, that means you attracted to men. So even if you fucking with a girl, you still attracted to men because you will go back to a man.
But a girl can be bisexual.
Bro. No. It's the same concept, just a different gender. The same concept, bro.
If you like, hey, that's a double standard right there. That's my double standard, but it's like a no.
I'm going to tell you why it's biphobic to not date bisexual men. You're basically perpetuating a stigma based on stereotypes. What do I mean by that? Okay, can you name one openly bisexual man in your life? Most people can't because they're either in denial or terrified of coming out.
And that's one thing that I kind of want to talk about too. I feel like that's another reason why you don't even really hear from a lot of men who are bisexual or whatever. That's why I salute to every openly bisexual man out there. You coming out and you telling everybody that you like women and men, and not only that, when you're trying to get to know somebody, you're being vocal about it. So I commend any bisexual man that's just out there living in their truth. There's so many bisexual men out there in this world, y'all, that would never come out. There's so many men out there that's gay that would never come out. This is the reason, like, they just feel like, well, hell, like, if I say anything, I'm not going to really get what I want, so I'm going to just keep it to myself. And without me trying to justify for them, I do want to say I understand it and I get it.
What's funny about this is that they are the largest part of the LGBT population. This is according to the Pew Research Center. It's funny because on my page, I'm not out here giving men a lot of credit on social issues. But I will say, men will date bisexual women. Of course, they're fetishizing them most of the time, but men are aware that just because a woman is attracted to another woman doesn't mean that they're going to leave them for a woman. And when cheating happens by a woman by chance, they conceptualize as a cheating problem, not as a bisexual problem. Women are the people who are perpetuating a lot of the stigma against bisexual men. I can't quite pinpoint what the issue is. I think there are a few of them. DL men have given bisexual men a really bad name. A lot of DL men are cheaters and liars. I think collectively, women are still traumatized by the HIV/AIDS crisis. There was a narrative that HIV and AIDS was passed over to cisgender women through their bisexual male partners, which was true sometimes, but HIV and AIDS was spread a lot by heterosexual contact. Plus, Let's talk about it. Just plain old homophobia. People think gay behavior is repulsive, and that's something that we're trying to fight still. Another thing I hear a lot from women is, if somebody's bisexual, I don't think I could provide them all that a man could provide them. My issue with that is no person can provide every single need for another person. But also, according to the Pew Research Center, most bisexual people who are partnered with opposite sex partners. Meaning, most bisexual men date women, most bisexual women date men. So if anybody should be feeling that way, it should be same-sex partners. Another comment that comes up a lot is, why can't somebody have preferences? You can have preferences. Nobody's taking you to jail for not dating bisexual guys. But a preference to me is like, I really love blonde hair, or I love guys who are really sweet. Discrimination to me is, I'm really attracted to this man. We have so much in common. He's perfect in every single way. But because he's bisexual, I'm going to categorically dismiss him. That is a problem.
After watching that video, I literally just learned a lot of stuff. I didn't even know bisexual men, the percentage was that high in terms of like the LGBT community or whatever. I didn't know that. Just found that out today. Now, I do want to kind of get into, I did find a couple of videos of bisexual men just basically frustrated with this whole thing, like when it comes to their dating life or whatever. So we're going to get into some videos of them.
For those of you who don't know, I'm bi. Whatever, get it out of the way. I've come to the realization I'm never going to have a girlfriend. No, because I'm just a little too fruitcake. Yeah, and they don't want that. And that's understandable. If I was a girl, like, I'd probably be saying the same thing. Hard to tell, you know. I'm a boy who likes boys, too. And I rarely like boys who are more feminine. So, yeah. I have no idea why I started recording this video, so I'm
so sick of people saying bisexual people are confused. There's so much biphobia and bi erasure that happens, and it's so corny. I'm upset now because I be erasing myself. I'll just say I'm gay in order to just not deal with the bullshit I have to deal with when I tell people I'm bi.
And it's so sad and unfortunate that people have to do this just so they can avoid like all of this crazy nonsense. It's crazy.
Sometimes people think that you're just trying to be different. It feels like you gotta prove your bi-ness to them, and it's like, what? Like, people have their own idea of what bisexuality is and how it should operate in every single person. And when you don't align with that, it's like, oh, it's not valid. Or when they don't have access to your bisexuality, when you're not attracted to them, then it's like, oh, you just straight, you just gay. I mean, no one's assuming I'm just straight. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, God forbid I'm bisexual and I'm not attracted to everything that walks. I'm not confused. You're confused. I might be confusing, and that's okay. I have to be okay with being confusing to people. Like, people be trying to keep track of it. Like, are you 50-50? How much do you like men? How much do you like women? It's like, mind your business. Mind your business. Mind your fucking business.
And my whole thing is, why does that matter? Like, why does it matter? Why? Like I don't get it.
I do what I do. I like what I like, and I do what I like when I like it. I came out as bisexual. When I did think I was gay, I just came out as bi because I thought it would be more palatable for my parents, which a lot of people do, which is why a lot of bisexuals are erased. But even still, it's like, shut up, mind your business. Like, just mind your business. Like, because I ended up actually being bi in the long run. Like, and to the people that do have the privilege and the courage to explore their sexuality without expectations, you might just find that it is kind of a disorienting experience. It can be confusing. Why should it have to be so straight cut and forward and boxed in? That's literally the antithesis of being queer. And as an artist, I often find it's when I get into spaces that I am confused, when I'm in the thick of it, that's for me when God has shown up and given me the clarity. So you're stressing yourself out, you're confused, you're about to give yourself a brain aneurysm because you're trying to figure out why this person is unlike anyone you've ever met and why their sexuality is fluid in a way you've never experienced. That's not their fault. And it's not your business. You're a bi girl, get your hair done, get a pedicure, get your nails.
I recently had a conversation with someone that was talking about bisexuality, and they said bisexual people do not exist because how can you just, be attracted to both? Because apparently you need to choose one, and if you're attracted to both, there must be something that's wrong with you. And you know what? That is a sentiment that is shared with a lot of people who happens to either be queer or they're straight because they think, being gay or being queer is literally just you existing in a vacuum. And for them, they have this ideology in their head that if you are bisexual, you need to look like this, that. Because that is not a true representation of how people feel because you don't know them, first of all. And I think being bisexual is not about choosing a side, it's about who you are attracted to. And myself, navigating coming out as bisexual has been something that I've come to terms with, that I had the emotional connection, to women and also physical attraction. But when it comes to emotional connection, I've always found it hard with someone of the same gender, which is something I've struggled in relationship, having relationship with a man. And something I've come to the realization of where I sit in the spectrum. And yes, like now I have gone on more dates when it comes to women, and I feel like I do get a little bit more connection because I feel like it's more emotional rather than just physical. And I do think, when I go on dates, there are...
Ooh, that's another topic I want to get into, y'all. Like, is it dark in here? Is it dark in here? I don't know if it's dark in here. But that's another thing I want to get into too, y'all. I've heard that before. Like, women, they're more emotional, and men, they're more physical. So I definitely can see that when it comes to dating other gay men or bisexual men versus dating women. So I get that.
Some girls that just feels uncomfortable with the fact that I am bisexual because they're like, oh, like how can you be bisexual? Because it just does not make sense. And yeah, I do think there is some biphobia, especially when you date. People say you can't be bisexual, you're gay, or you're this, you're that. But I feel like if I'm just attracted with someone, I'm attracted with someone. And I feel like we live in a society that people are open. And I don't think, we should put a label on people and what they should be, into and who they like.
Can we be honest? Like, really honest. Okay, you said we could be honest. Not wanting to date a bisexual man is not a preference.
I'm sorry, before we get into this video, I know we're talking about this, but he is fine. Lord have mercy.
Your preference is somebody who...
This video, I know we're talking...
Bisexual man is not a preference.
I'm sorry, before we get into this video, I know we're talking about this, but he is fine. Lord have mercy.
Your preference is somebody who likes you, someone who wants to be with you, someone who is faithful to you, those kinds of things. And a bisexual man can do all of that. And it's not about his past, because there's things in the past of people that you have dated and will date that you don't agree with, that you don't like, that will make trusting him difficult, all the things. But you overlook those things, right? But the one thing you cannot overlook is the idea that your man has once been with men. Let's just be honest, right? And let's call it what we can't say on this app. Because the second we do, we can then start to grow. For some reason, probably media's portrayal of queer men, you have then become afraid of the idea of a man being with a man. You say things like, well, I don't know if I can fully fulfill him. I don't know if he can be faithful to me, which are all realities of any man you find. Any man you find, there's an opportunity for you to not fulfill him and him to not be faithful to you. That's your reality that you're going to have to face. But let's just call it what it is so we can start to grow.
Clock that T.
When we talk about biphobia, we need to talk about how bisexual men are treated and how bisexual women are treated. When it comes to bisexuality for women, it is often normalized because there are men that sexualize it. Men often think that we just sleep with whatever woman they find attractive or whoever we find attractive, that's a woman. When a man is attracted to another man but is also attracted to women, why is he just deemed as gay? Because if we're gonna do that, you might as well just call us bisexual women gay, because we also like women as well. Bisexual men should be just as seen as equally as bisexual women. Bisexual men like men and women. Bisexual women also like women and men. There are even some bisexual men that prefer women over men, but it seems like people still make it a problem.
Okay, so I do apologize. My mic had went off. My mic is actually dead. So we're gonna continue this video without it. So if y'all hear like a little quality difference, please don't mind that. I'm aware of it. I know. But we're gonna watch the video by the name of this creator on TikTok. Her name is Kaylin Esley. I love how she just answered this question or whatever. I love it. So we're gonna get into this video.
And by the way, I have a question, and don't fight me because I know how you girls like to tussle.
I really wanted to talk about this because I think it's important. Personally, I would date a bisexual man. What I want to address is the fear that women have of catching from a bisexual man. What's so interesting is that's only held to men who have an interest in other men or sleep with other men. I noticed this isn't a problem for anybody else in the LGBTQ plus community. Just men that sleep with other men. What's so crazy is y'all are in a frenzy of trying to not catch from a bisexual man that y'all done got chlamydia 5 times from the same straight man that don't get tested and that don't wear protection when y'all have sex. Some of y'all are literally raw dogging people who don't get tested and who are sleeping with other people. And they're raw dogging these other people too. You have straight men that are so careless with their health. I don't know if y'all remember that TikTok, but there was a TikTok where a building cleaner talked about how she rarely has to change the soap, napkins, anything in the men's restroom because they don't wash their hands. You have so many men overall that don't give a damn about their health, let alone yours. And a lot of those are straight men, the ones that y'all are having sex with. Those are the same men that don't wash their hands, eat a seafood boil, don't wash their hands after that, and then try to finger you. And y'all be letting...
And I'm not even trying to be funny, but I've been around straight men. I've grown up around, not bisexual men. I grew up around a lot of straight men, and she is right when it comes to hygiene. Like, it's some dudes that go days without washing their ass, and that's ridiculous. Like, it's crazy. And you know, you would think as them being straight and trying to attract women, you would think they'll try to keep up with themselves, but a lot of them do not care for that. And it's embarrassing and it's nasty. And just imagine, like, and then like what she said about the whole H word and chlamydia and all that stuff. Like, people don't even really care about that kind of stuff. They're just so worried about you doing something with another dude. So it's ridiculous, but it is what it is.
Now, so I really don't want to hear a goddamn thing. You shouldn't be scared of catching something from a bisexual man. You should be scared of catching something from any damn body that you sexual with. And I hope whomever you sexual with, y'all getting tested. Especially if y'all are not in a committed relationship. And if you are in a committed relationship, I think it's wise to get tested at the very beginning. Y'all be dealing with straight men that don't wash their goddamn balls. Shit, don't even wash their own shitty ass. And they be giving you yeast infections and bacterial vaginosis every time y'all sleep together. Not to mention STDs and STIs. And I think a lot of y'all need to reflect on why you feel that way when it just comes to men who sleep with other men. Cause it ain't looking good. But I'm gone.
I want to preface this conversation by saying, straight women, my sisters, you do not need to date bisexual men. This is not me trying to convince you. This is not me trying to force y'all to date bisexual men. You do what you need to do. You do what you want to do. But if we're going to have this conversation that comes up every 2 to 3 business days about would you date bisexual men, the reasoning that we're providing, the language that we're using, we engage disingenuously. And so if we're gonna talk about it, let's be radically honest. On this topic of would you date a bisexual man that's making its runs on TikTok yet again, I want my straight women to be more honest about what inspires that rhetoric, what inspires their choices, right? I want them to be honest about, you know what, the idea of a man being face down, ass up for another man makes me disgusted. It disgusts me. It makes me cringe. I want my sisters to say, you know what, the idea of a man being romantically or sexually linked to another man delegitimizes their masculinity. And it is antithetical to everything society has taught me, fed me, and idealized about what a proper relationship between a straight man and a straight woman should look like. I want my sisters to say, my version of a man is macho, is strong, is dominant. And in my opinion, a man who sleeps with other men is the opposite of that. He leans more feminine. I want my sisters to say, you know what? I've always held the belief that bisexual men, gay folk, queer folk, whoever, are hypersexual and they pass around diseases, and I don't want any parts in that. Then once all of that is out on the table, then we can talk about stigma. Then we can talk about why so many people are buying into this ignorance. Then we can talk about root causes and what exactly is inspiring this rhetoric. And before I go any further, I just want to make it very clear that these oppressive structures that we're talking about in this conversation, biphobia, homophobia, do not rest solely on the shoulders of cis heterosexual women. Cis heterosexual men also share in this blame. Straight men also share in the stigma and the harm perpetuated against queer folk, whether bisexual or gay, it don't matter. Let's get that out the way. But the reason why I'm addressing my girls is because I want to highlight how the language and the rhetoric y'all employ against bisexual men also harm you too. In these conversations about would you date a bisexual, I don't think y'all understand how you are reinforcing stigma and ignorance that not only shames men, but women. The over-sexualization you project onto bisexual folk also harms you, because we know how the bodies of black women are over-sexualized, dehumanized, fetishized, irregardless of your sexual orientation. Black you project onto bisexual folk also harms you, because we know how the bodies of black women are over-sexualized, dehumanized, fetishized, irregardless of your sexual orientation. The disgust you feel for bisexual men and the femininity you project onto them is the very same femininity that these men deny you and sometimes hate you for.
And that's my whole thing. Like, who even said anything about every bisexual man being feminine? Like, I never understood that either.
Y'all assign a level of promiscuity to queer folk, more specifically bisexual folk, that y'all do not reserve or assign to straight men, to straight folk. For those who bring up sexual health, the disclosure you require from bisexual men is not a standard that you hold straight men to. And I'm speaking as a sexual health educator. The data's right there. And that's what I'm talking about. Therein lies the issue, the differential treatment. The pushback is not about forcing y'all or getting y'all to date bisexual men. It's about doing the self-inventory to figure out what exactly is the reason why you are buying into those beliefs. What stigma inspires that rhetoric? It is worth unpacking. If not for you, then the people that come after you. We need to start diagnosing the symptoms of our ignorance. Why do you hold on to these beliefs? Because we cannot keep masquerading this ignorance under preference, under preferential choice. Enough is enough. We've been having this conversation for 4 years. We must move beyond it.
That about wraps up this video. I just kind of wanted to just shed more light on the conversation and, just try to get to the bottom of the whole hatred, when it comes to bisexual men. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Again, I do apologize for the quality, the sound quality. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.
So the American regime has announced its plan for Gaza, and also for what seems to be its attempt to create a parallel, only my friends are allowed version of the UN. I did talk about this plan a few months ago when I brought up how they seem to be recruiting Tony fucking Blair, one of the butchers of Iraq, as the potential leader of the colonization of Gaza that they had planning. And they signed the charter of a new organization called the Balls of Peace, I was going to say. It's more accurate. Board of Peace, which could upend world order. And all you need to know about it really is that Israel has backed the body. Netanyahu has approved the body. Basically, this is going to be like colonization of Gaza, basically. They're going to send international troops there to police the Palestinian people and ensure that they have nothing resembling national aspirations, and like indoctrinate them with pro-Israel propaganda and such. And that apparently countries have to pay $1 billion to buy into this. The Board of Peace is just a bunch of Americans. Marco Rubio, Steve Witkoff, Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, Tony Blair, and World Bank President Ajay Banga. World Bank is on board of this. Unsurprising. They see an opportunity here to extract profit from the disaster. More than 20 countries have said they will join the board. They include Albania, Argentina, fucking Milei like the pathetic little feet-licking lapdog of Trump. I really don't believe these countries are all going to pay $1 billion to get in on this. Why would they? Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Belarus, Bulgaria, Egypt, Hungary, Indonesia, Israel, Jordan. Disgusting fucking Arab collaborators in here as well. The world's a shit show. Kazakhstan, Kosovo, oh, of fucking course. Like half of these countries are Muslim countries as well, by the way. Mongolia, Morocco, Pakistan, Paraguay, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, the UAE, Uzbekistan, and Vietnam. Just everyone is selling out the Palestinian people aside from Yemen, man. Everyone. I'm just going to tell you right now, this is the sort of thing that the second Trump goes, everyone's going to forget it exists. It's not gonna last at all. Or maybe it'll be like absorbed into you and everyone will forget about it eventually. But the most important thing about it is that it's just a part of the Gaza occupation plan. I love the logo as well. The logo is clearly AI generated. And it only shows, like, it's the US, and like by accident they're showing like countries near the US, and that's it. British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper cited concerns over Russian President Vladimir Putin's possible participation. That's what you're concerned about? That's all you care about? That Russia might be involved? Israel is involved. You don't care about that. You don't care about the fact it's just a body that's clearly formed to colonize Gaza. There's also been documents leaked that indicate that one of the first mandates of this so-called Board of Peace will be forming a so-called planned community, aka prison, in Gaza, surveilled by Israel, where anyone who enters would have to be vetted by Israel, and they would be surveilled 24/7 with the collaboration of all of those countries I just listed and the USA, under the watchful eye of Israel while it colonizes, rapes, and brutalizes them, and expands its colonial project all the same, with the backing of all of these countries. This so-called planned community will contain and control its residents through biometric surveillance, checkpoints, monitoring of purchases, and educational programs promoting normalization with Israel. This is like the ultimate European-American colonial project to destroy the Palestinian nationality forever, basically. And guess who's on board? Because it's not just fucking the US. France, Britain, Germany, UAE, Egypt. I'm sure there's more as well that aren't just listed. That just aren't listed here. It's basically like a much more formalized version of the GHF. You know, the fake Israeli aid organization. The registry will be based on Palestinian ID numbers issued by the authorities in coordination with COGAT. COGAT is the Israeli government body that handles its occupations. So basically, their way to destroy the Palestinian National Project is through direct control, with the complicity of basically every single pro-Israel European ally, of course. You know, this is not simply an American thing. And a massive amount of Arab states, of Muslim countries as well, and Argentina, of course, because they just have to throw their hat in there as if they fucking do anything. Fucking Milei just has to signal as like Trump's little lapdog. They are going to essentially try and create like basically like reservations. Gaza was already a reservation, but now it's going to be a much more directly controlled reservation where Palestinians will be like indoctrinated into giving up any notion of ever getting their own land back or even being Palestinians in the first place by this Arab, Western, Muslim nation as well coalition, because there's like Kosovo in there, there's Indonesia, etc. Great, brilliant. This is like an earth-shattering thing that I would hope people would protest against, but it's just going to go through without even a whimper. That's the sad thing about this. There's no stopping this. That's the worst part about it. The only stopping it would be action in the countries that are backing it, and yet it's scarcely even being met with any acknowledgement. We're just looking on with horror, pointing at it. We're pointing at it and we're saying this is bad, but ultimately we're not going to do anything about it. This is the world now. We've all been fucking pacified by the internet. I think that is something that I failed to account for in my previous segment. The internet as well, we've just been pacified by it. We all have like screens that beam entertainment to us, the most mind-numbing entertainment to us at any point, whenever we want. And that's like another great reason for the complete de-radicalization of whatever little radicalism there was before. The complete inaction of whatever little action there was before as well. Nowadays, when we might have gone out to really kick up a ruckus about something like this, instead we will post online about how it's bad and feel like we've done our bit against it, and then it will happen anyway. It's just what the world is now, I suppose.
This video is sponsored by Epidemic Sound.
The country as a whole has been living in the sunken place.
I got rights to talk. I do.
I think all great horror has a social message of some sort.
Do they know I'm black?
No.
Should they?
What are you people?
We're Americans.
It's Hands Across America. Hands Across America.
We still have the American spirit.
But however you define us, in order for you to have us, there's got to be a them.
A targeted act of political violence.
A radical leftist.
He is a Biden supporter.
The suspected shooter is Meg.
Left versus right, or us versus them.
We are polarized because there is a lot to be gained by certain people when we're polarized.
Big question about the addiction to spectacle.
An absolute spectacle.
It began as the fun of a horror story.
It's sunken place.
It's my favorite genre. I wanted to have fun while writing. And it turned, in the middle of the process, it turned into something more important.
By the way, I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could. Best president in my lifetime, hands down.
I agree.
Yeah.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Barack Obama is the first African-American president of the United States.
2008, as America welcomes a new president, Saturday Night Live looks for someone to play him.
Calling all Obamas, your dream gig is up for grabs. Saturday Night Live needs to find an Obama fast.
She is responsible for everything I have achieved.
What I can say.
I also think America wants change.
And SNL set their eyes on upcoming talent Jordan Peele.
You had a chance at the last year of Mad TV to get onto SNL. They offered it to you because they wanted you to play Barack.
For 29-year-old Jordan, this was a no-brainer.
So Mad is basically underneath SNL. When you're a sketch performer, improv performer at this time, you're not trying to land on Mad TV. You're trying to land on SNL.
The guy that owned Mad TV, David Salson, said no, he's contractually with us for like a year, right? Or like even less than that.
Yes.
He could have let you go, like, fuck the year, SNL, go do it.
Yeah, there's 4
But
more
he didn't
episodes.
do it.
He didn't do it.
4 more episodes left on your contract.
On the contract, he's like, they're gonna.
I think it might.
Wow, I hope everybody is fresh, never frozen meal instead of
そばにいてくれるわ。おさわり禁止。
岩山発くらい。みんなは俺が
次のショッ熱々でしょ。
みんながそばに。
話が通じないなら
落ちよギグ。剣の番。みんなは俺が守れ。
料理の時間だよ。師匠の技をおさわり禁止。表情が必要です。
みんながそばに。
部外者禁止。次の仕事はついていきます。おさわり禁止。
燃えろ。
部外者禁止。
全力攻撃だ。
瑠璃のように落ちなさい。相関結晶。話が通じないなら
岩山発球。この古臭い世界に妥協するというのか。
入れよ。ガチャーン。よっ。失礼。律令に従え命ずる。世界を熱狂の渦に。食前に甘いものを。はい踊りなさい。はっはっよっ。宙に浮いてれば裏かまき。雪を前。すっ魂よ遠くをたた低音ちょい踊りなさい。 直送命ずる光り輝くがいいまずいまずいガンのように羽ばたけ雪を舞い律令に従えじゃじゃーん歌え僕の生もジャムの食最高な一品よ失礼
世の力を見せてやる
肛門が小さすぎるへい雪を入れよやった天心直送僕をたたえよ世界を熱狂の渦にガンのように羽ばたけ踊りなさい神里流命ずる
これより演じるは断罪の一幕
舞台効果も大切よ雪を舞いちょっと律令に従え入れよお披露目だ歌え僕の生元に伝統の時間よ最高の一品よ
クイーンよダンスといこう
ステップは覚えているわよね桜吹雪名ピッタ未熟者じゃじゃーんただのミスよ失礼食前に甘いもの世界を熱狂の渦にガンのように羽ばたけ入れよ天心直送雪を舞い
Last year,
道に迷わない能力ってテンポに最強している
慣れない土地では地元のライダーは雇った方がいいぞ
刀はお茶と同じく丁寧に味わってこそ本来の趣がわかるものです。
またも夢に支配された
みんなは俺が守れ
お披露目だ光り輝くがいいカウント
安らかに眠れこれが戦いに身を投じた者の定めなのだから
君撃て進め
みんながそばにいてくれるわ
呼吸を整えよう動け
遅すぎる
今だ僕をたたえ
食らえ全力こ
世界を熱狂の渦にはあ合図を待つ撃て
安らかに眠れ。これだ。
諸悪よ、知れ。
体を動かすのは久しぶりじゃ。
仕掛けに不備なし。では行くとしよう。
知れ。くだらない。
お前にやろう。
八方の風、幅。
危険、動け。
わめくがいい。無能、ここだ。無能。
もっと早く、もっと強く。
やっ。
はあ。よく見とけ。今に見ておれ。後悔しても遅いぞ。
修復、幸運。
呼吸を整えよう。合図を待つ。
西洋など知れ。無能。無能。
お前にやろう。受け取れ。
千人のご高麗だ。風よ、知れ。はっ。
もっと早く、もっと強く。
わめくがいい。知れ。ここだ。ここだ。
Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Many of you have asked me to go over this new executive order in New York City from Mayor Zohran Mamdani about reducing fees and civil penalties for small businesses. And based on my experience in New York City, I understand why you're asking. I have an entire playlist called Why Businesses Leave New York City, and the first video in that series has a thumbnail of New York City is driving me insane. I had a small business there from 2008 until 2022 before I decided to leave for another state. When I go through this article and when I go through some of my experiences, I want to make it clear that before I say anything, I wish the best of luck to the new mayor, Zohran Mamdani. Congratulations on your victory, and I do hope that you succeed in making New York City a place that is more affordable for working New Yorkers, and also importantly, making it a place where small businesses can flourish. I will always remember from the bottom of my heart what it was like to start a business from nothing with $250 in my pocket, no credit, no connections, no nothing, working out of a park, putting up pull tab signs and Craigslist ads, and building that into a company that is known around the world, that has a reputation around the world, that's had over a dozen employees at one point, that has still existed today. That will always hold a special place in my heart. New York City is the place where I was able to do that because you have 8.5 million people in a space the size of Knoxville, Tennessee, from all over the world, and lots of opportunity. And when I talk about any of the complaints that I have about New York City, it doesn't come from a place of like me saying, me hating the people that are there or anything like that. It comes from a place of frustration because I like seeing people walk in my shoes and walk in my path to success or relive the success that I've had. When I created that video playlist on how to do motherboard repair and small business advice, it was because I wanted to throw the ladder back down so that people could follow in my footsteps. If I become successful once, I get to enjoy that and be happy once. But when I see other people become economically independent and free and make people happy by fixing things that didn't work before, when I see that, I get to relive that happiness over and over again. And that is infinitely more important to me than there just being a smaller market because I didn't make videos showing people how to do stuff. I'm very happy when I see people being able to follow in my footsteps and make something of themselves. Everything that I say here is out of love and care because I actually do want to see New York City go back to being a place where somebody can start something from nothing and have a great chance of success the same way that I did 16 years ago. This executive order is going over a lot of the things that you'll hear people talk about when it comes to penalties, whereas the small business owners are forced to close because keeping a business afloat costs too much, and they talk about how they don't want to make sure that New York City doesn't have any regulations that are outdated, unnecessary, that are otherwise creating undue hardship. They want to document the existing fees and civil penalties. They want to go through all the initial fees for licenses, permits, inspections, applications, an inventory of all the different penalties. They want to go over some fees that they want to eliminate. They want to establish an amnesty program. And this really does have, in my opinion, the best of intentions at heart. I want to talk about the one blind spot that I think this has, not because I want to crap on the order, and not because I don't want Zohran Mamdani to be very successful as mayor. I want to point this out because I hope that during his administration, he is able to make things better for people who are starting off at the bottom like I did, who want to try and create something for themselves. Because I do think that New York City is one of the best places in the world if you want to create something from nothing when you're totally broke and turn it into something. When you have a city of 8.5 million people from all around the world in that tiny space, and you can get around paying a few bucks for a Metro card, and you can, you never know who you're next to. There's a lot of opportunity for success there that doesn't exist in other parts of the world. And I want to see that again someday. But there are a number of other items that are difficult. And also when I see this covered by the news, they are mentioning things that are rules that I actually don't disagree with. For example, one of the fines that was mentioned by the New York Times in covering this order is for failing to display a price on a shelf next to the item. Now, if you are selling something, and this happens in many places in New York City, if somebody walks in from the neighborhood, this may be $1.95. If somebody walks in that's maybe outside the neighborhood, maybe $3. So I understand the concept of having a price next to the item or a price on the item, and I think that that's a reasonable thing if you have a store where you are selling items where people can walk in and physically look through them. I don't have prices on items at my store because I sell services, not parts. But if you go to store.rossmangroup.com, at least when I used to have stuff for sale, like everything had a price next to it. If you have an online store, it should have prices. If you have an in-store store where people are browsing, there should be prices. I'm not saying that we should get rid of laws and regulations altogether. Because when people talk about burdensome laws and regulations, you wind up getting what you get with like the current administration, where like, yes, there are too many regulations on business. So the first one we're going to get rid of is the one that allows you to get a refund if the airline cancels your flight. Like, really? Like that's where you had to start? So I'm not somebody who thinks there should be no regulations at all. The problem here is the way that these are put. It's not even necessarily the fine, it's the manner in which the fines are distributed. You can see that the New York Times failed at articulating what the actual problem is here. Seems like the two violations quoted, posted refund policy and prices, are very understandable, desirable, and easily complied with. Let's hear some actual silly regulations. There was also another comment here that said, I'd like to open a small business and think they should drastically cut fees and regulations. But how hard is it to display necessary signs? Anybody getting fined for not displaying prices is probably sleazy. And honestly, I agree with you. I had a pricing philosophy page on my website many years ago, and I had this comic made up that goes over this very practice that I talked about, where different people get charged different prices based on what they look like or what their perceived net worth is. At this store, this is a place that I actually worked, and this represents a real human being. The people that are close to me know who it is. If somebody walks in that looks like they're a Wall Street banker, they get charged $300. And if a broke Bushwick hipster walks in, they get billed $75 for the exact same service. This is a scourge on society. It decreases trust everywhere, and if people are getting fined for taking part in this behavior, by all means, I think they should get fined for that. I want to try and discuss what the actual problem is with all of you. So some of the problems that I've had. Firstly, I want to go over the way that this works when new mayors have come into the office over the years. Even Bloomberg was saying this. There was an article about how businesses shouldn't be a cow to be milked. They should be a garden to be cultivated. And this is a blog post from me back in 2000. Shouldn't be a cow to be milked. They should be a garden to be cultivated. And this is a blog post from me back in 2012 saying I'm not feeling like much of a cultivated garden right now. I'm talking about a fine that I received that would have been a $1,000 fine if I did not plead guilty to it or settle for the $250, which is that I had my license number on my business cards. I had my license number prominently displayed in my store, in the license in the front of the store, but I did not have it on my invoices or receipts. And because I didn't have the license number on my receipt, I had to settle $250 or lose and pay $1,000 if I lose in court. And this was not bothersome for me necessarily because of the $250. It wasn't about the burdensome fine or the burdensome regulation. I am happy to comply with the regulation. Rather, it's the way that it's implemented. And this is a cultural thing that I don't know how you change with an executive order, but I do think you could change if you really start digging into it. So why does this bother me? When you look into the way it was put together, the rules had not been updated in the book that we get since January of 2009. I paid for my license in December of 2011. I received it in January or February of 2012. So that means that my manual was 3 years out of date at the time that I was looking at it. What I would have to do at this point is I would have to call the Department of Consumer Affairs every single day and wait on hold for like 40 minutes. Have you guys changed any rules recently? Okay, cool, thank you. And I don't have time to do that when I work 12 hours a day in a business. Now, if they had walked into my store and said, hey, by the way, we changed the rules for businesses with your license type, here's what you have to do now, and then they came back 30 days later to make sure I was in compliance, that makes sense. But they didn't do that. They changed the law. They walked into my store after changing the law, and they said, you're violating this law that you never knew existed because we changed it and we never told you, you owe us money. That creates a very adversarial relationship, and it's less about the money. Businesses don't move across the country to other states or other cities over $250 fine. They do that when they feel like they're getting fucked with or disrespected. And that does create an adversarial working relationship between the city and yourself that is not really conducive to success and trust. Or another example, when I was trying to renew my license, I have to pay $350 to have a license to be a consumer and electronics home appliance service dealer. That's $350. I think they take your fingerprint. I forget if it's for the secondhand dealer license or just for that one. It's about $350 plus a fingerprint and some bond, and you can start fixing electronics. They don't test you to see if you know which ends of the soldering iron to grab. They don't test to see if you know what the hell you're doing. They sure as fuck don't ask if you know Ohm's law. It's just give us $350 and you can claim that you fix stuff for people, right? This does not really protect consumers at all. It's a money grab. But whatever, I understand. You have to fund the city government somehow. So I pay my $350. Problem is not that I have to pay $350 for the license. The problem is not that I have to wait to get it. The problem is that you don't issue it at all. And when you don't issue the license at all, even after I have paid for the renewal, after being in business for about 10 years at this point, you say that if I don't take this action, I will have to shut down my business. I cannot stay in business. Now, I was expecting this at the time in this video. I was expecting this so much that I actually took the email receipt that I received from the city saying that I paid for my license. I forwarded it to Paul, who was my chief technical employee at the time, and I asked him to hang this in the front of the store right next to my now expired license, and with a note for the Department of Consumer Affairs inspector, who would inevitably show up one day after it expires, as they always do, saying that I needed to close. This is an email to Steve and Paul S. And it is literally hung right next to my license. If a Department of Consumer Affairs inspector comes in after the 30th and says that our license has expired, show them this, that we paid for the renewal. It takes them forever to send a new one. This video came out in July of 2021, right around the time that that license had expired. I believe it expired around June of 2021. I sent this email to Paul and Steve in June of 2020 because I knew that they were not going to send me the fucking license renewal, because they almost never do. Or they send it to me ripped, and you have to fight for it. Now, the difference here is that in the fighting process to get my license, this was during COVID in 2021, so the building was closed. Nobody answered the phone. Nobody has answered my emails to the Department of Consumer Affairs in the 11 years that I had been sending them. So there was nothing I could do. If I didn't have a YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers and get the attention of local news, there would be nothing I could do. I would have had to either shut down my business or face much higher fines than that for operating without a license, even though I had done everything I needed to actually obtain one. And as I go over in the video, it's asking me for a PIN code that I no longer have because I used the PIN code to renew my license to pay for it a year ago when you sent me the receipt that said that it had successfully gone through. One of my personal favorites is we sell devices from time to time that people recycle here. Sometimes people will keep items here for months and months if they don't want to pay for a repair or because it's too far gone, and we may sell those devices. We keep detailed receipts of the customer saying, yes, you can have it, and this is not a purchase because I have not purchased anything from you. There was a law that said that when you buy something from a customer, when money is exchanged, you need to fill out a certain form. I don't buy laptops from people, generally speaking, because I just don't want to be in that business. I'm not a pawn shop. I am a component level electronics repair person. I don't want to be a pawn shop. It's annoying. I don't like when people use this as a garbage pail to begin with, much less turning that into an actual business model. So I have all the documentation from every customer that has left something there. And they say, well, you can't tell me who you bought this from, so we're just going to give you a fine. I'm like, I didn't buy it. I have the documentation right here. Like, this is the customer. See the serial number? See the email from them? And they didn't care. So I called the Department of Consumer Affairs to ask how I can be in compliance with this particular law. What do I need to do so that I am in compliance with what you have asked me to do? And when I do that, this is what happens.
They never picked it up, and they won't answer my phone calls or text messages or emails. Does that have to get entered into the Leads Online database, or how does that work?
He cannot tell me. He cannot tell me. He is unable to tell me how to be in compliance with their own law. I sent an email to the people he suggested I email at the end of this phone call. And that was almost 5 years ago. To this day, I've never received a response. The last straw for me was an audit that lasted about 1.5 years, where they thought that I owed almost somewhere between $800,000 and $1.2 million, if I remember the exact calculations, when I actually owed them less than $5,000. And that was just because I didn't argue it. If I had actually contested this, I likely would have been zero, as it was in a subsequent audit. When I moved to Texas, I called the office of the state comptroller, and I asked them which items were sales taxable and which were not, and I gave them examples. Within 7 minutes, I got somebody on the phone who was able to answer it. And she could tell that there was a little bit of shakiness in my voice because I just wasn't really sure of it. And I explained what happened before. And she said, well, we could actually send you something on our letterhead that says that this is and this is not, so that you have a record of it. So if you get audited in the future and there's an issue like this, you can actually show them this letterhead that you got from the comptroller so that you have nothing to worry about. Businesses don't move over $250 fines or $500 fines here and there, and they don't move because of 1 or 3% in tax rates. That's silly. For a small business that has hundreds of customers a week or a month or thousands of people, that the uncertainty of going somewhere else and losing your customer base altogether, starting everything from scratch, nobody does that over a few $100s here or there. They do it when there's some sort of existential threat. For me, the $250 here and there wasn't it. And admittedly, to be clear, this was at the state level. This wasn't at the city level, just to be fair to Mr. Mamdani. It's not about that. It's about an unsureness over what it is that you will actually pay. My company makes less money in Texas than it did in New York City. And I expect it to. Austin is a city that has 10% the number of people. But it's not about that. It's not about the $200 here, the $400 there. It's not about the waiting. It's about the being fucked with at either the city or the state level. It's that feeling that somebody is just sticking a knife into you, not because they have anything personally against you, just because that's what they do to everybody. And that's the thing that needs to change. It's a culture. It's like, are we working with you, or are we trying to find ways to fuck you? I'm okay with paying taxes. Paying taxes funds a lot of the services that I use, the things around me. And like, again, until we find a better way to run society, this is the way that's going to have to be. But I want to know what it is I have to pay. I don't want you to make something up and then come back to me later and say, yeah, you owe us $1,000 for this thing that we made up that we never told you. No. I don't want you to have a rule where when I ask you, how do I obey the rule? You can't fucking tell me. I don't want to deal with a tax where you reinterpret how this tax should work, go back 3 to 5 years to every single one of my transactions in other countries, and pretend that I owe you over $1 million that I don't even fucking have. No. No. I think his heart is in the right place, and I want to see him win. Because if the mayor wins, the people in New York City win. If the mayor wins, the businesses in New York City win. And when the people win and the businesses win, the city wins. I want to see the city win. It was a place of opportunity for me. And it got me to where I am today. I'm very thankful for that. But I think addressing this solely at the level of like, this fine is a little too high or this license is a little too high, it misses one of the fundamental points of the culture of how they deal with people. And this is one of the best ways I could think of to explain it. There was a different audit that I was involved in many years back. And I try to explain this to people who are kind of used to the way taxes work in, let's say, the United Kingdom, because people in the United Kingdom that I've talked to, not everybody, but like people that I've spoken to, don't really understand American businesses' aggravation of taxes the same way. And I think it's because their government kind of works with them on things in a way that it doesn't happen here. So in the UK, at least from the reports that I've heard from people, the government, to some extent, when they're auditing you, they kind of work with you. They want you to be successful. Here, I'll give you one example. I'm going to change some of the numbers and some of the things around just because I don't want to get too exact with everything. But let's say that I'm being audited, and let's say that I say on my company QuickBooks that our invoice receipts were $1.95 million this year. But the auditor looks at the bank account and they see $2.12 million was taken in. They will then come to me and say, there is a discrepancy. Your bank says that you've taken in $2.12 million in the statements, but your invoicing system says that you've only taken in $1.95 million. Now, I want you all for just 30 seconds to think about what it is that could cause there to be that discrepancy without it being a tax cheat. Okay, I'm not going to give you 30 seconds because they didn't even give me 30 seconds. There are two main items that are going to cause the discrepancy. Number one is sales tax. Number two are refunds. Sales tax. New York City has 8.875% sales tax. When I take in sales tax, that is not I'm not invoicing for that. That's not like one of my billable things. I'm collecting that on behalf of the city and state, and then I'm rendering that to the city and state, but that's not my money. Like, that's not mine. If I even try to claim that that's mine, that will be breaking the law. A second is refunds. When you take in money, and then I give it back to the customer, that's taken out of my gross receipts, but it's still going to show up as gross income if you look at a bank statement. Now, the problem here is not that I mismarked it. The problem here is that the auditor themselves actually knows the answer to each of these two questions. However, if I don't give them the right answer, even though they know what the right answer is, and they admit it after I told them it was the right fucking answer, I would then get in trouble for underpaying my taxes. If you know that I have not done something wrong, but you need to hear me tell you why it wasn't wrong, and if I miss the riddle, then I get in trouble. That is a very adversarial system. And it's different from the system when I go to other countries or I talk to people who do business in other countries and how they deal with their taxing authorities. And the reason that I think there's as much animosity in the US as there is towards some of these things is because of the culture around it, the abusive culture. Here, when we're going to make a rule, we're not going to tell you what it is, and we're not even going to give you a warning before we get you in trouble for it. We're going to make a rule, we're not going to tell you how to comply with it. We're not going to have anybody that works here that can tell you how to comply with it, but you get in trouble for it. We are going to have a misinterpretation of how this tax law works, and for 18 months of time, where you can visibly see between 2021 and 2022, you'll see that a lot of my hair went missing during that time. We're just going to leave it up in the air that you may owe us more than your entire net worth, all of what's in your business bank account, and all of what's in your personal account. That's a cultural thing, and that's not really something that I know how to address via executive order, but it's something that needs to be a part of the conversation, because that's why businesses leave. Again, I hear all the time. You'll see the criticism constantly. Like some business like mine would move because of like slightly lower taxes here. Maybe Dell or Intel, I could see them doing something like that. Or Hewlett Packard, something where you're not dealing with like walk-in customers on a daily basis from your local street. They're international businesses. But for the businesses that we're talking about here, these are not businesses that want to leave over that. They're leaving over the feeling of getting fucked. Is this a good step forward? Yeah, I think it is. But I think it needs to be a holistic approach that really roots out that culture in the entirety of city and state government. And I know that Zoran can only work at the city level, but I wish him the best of luck with it, because if he is able to do a good job at it, then he manages to make the city better for everybody. Those are my thoughts on it. Not sure if it's what you wanted to hear, but it's what came to mind. I wish him the best of luck with all of it. I hope that New York City becomes a much better place to do business in, and if it is, I'll be very happy. I want to see people be able to follow in the success that I've had in life.
ずいぶん走り回ったし、そろそろ休もう。座って休憩。あっちゃー、ベランダの花がまた枯れてる。毎日水やりしてるのに。もしかして逆にやりすぎ？ずいぶん走り回ったし、そろそろ休もう。座って休憩。
史上最大サイズなんだ。
On a subjective level, and I'm 82 years old now, and on a subjective level, in my lifetime, I've not experienced such darkness, a sense of darkness and despondency, and confusion and discouragement on the part of progressive people. There have been many crises before, many terrible times, many crimes committed by the system, but the sense of resistance and possibility was at any time more palpable than I see it now, with some exceptions. There was the Vietnam War, and it's hard to compare atrocities. 3 million people were massacred in Vietnam, in Cambodia, 100,000 or so in Gaza. But there was a sense of resistance then, and a belief in the possibility of stopping it. That seems less available now. It seems like I know that people are resisting, but the system's relentless imposition of power and arbitrary behavior has never been more untrammeled. And that's on the one hand. And on the other hand, the gloves are off. Like the imperial system, of which the United States is the main hegemon, used to hide behind various attractive labels and slogans such as democracy and freedom. It was always the hypocrisy, but now it no longer even bothers to do that. So that they go into Gaza with real estate ambitions, or they take over Venezuela, not talking about democracy and all that nonsense, but saying we want the oil. So that on the one hand, on the left, I think there's a sense of shock, despondence on the part of a lot of people, and on the part of the system, there's an untrammeled, undisguised greed and power imposition. Now, I know there's some lovely possibilities. I know there's resistance in Minnesota and the States. I know that Mayor Mamdani represents some hope for some people, at least in the area of New York. But systemically, I'm seeing what I'm seeing.
It's very weighty to hear someone say that, who not only has experienced more life chronologically than I have, but who has specifically endured a great deal personally. To hear a Holocaust survivor say that this moment in time feels uniquely pessimistic is pretty heavy. And that's, it's a conversation I have with my own mother frequently at various points in my political life. When I was very frustrated about the failure of the Birdie movement and the election of Biden, she says, well, this is how it felt to progressives, third-party voters like me when Clinton got elected and we left the country, and these things come in cycles. But more recently, we've been having a different kind of conversation about whether or not this moment does feel uniquely different. And I think there is a sort of hesitation that's rooted in not wanting to seem sort of alarmist and having the perspective that one is always going to think their immediate context is the most visceral and it's the worst thing that ever happened. Like a young person thinking they're the first person who's ever, fallen in love or experienced heartbreak. But I think we're all sort of getting past that and coming to terms with the fact that this really might be different. We might be crossing Rubicons that can't be retread. And then what to do about that. And in my position, I vacillate between kind of embracing my frustrations, retreating inward to say, well, let me just enjoy what life still has on offer. Let me be very present. Let me go on this run. Let me enjoy this meal. Or trying to gin up a sense of revolutionary optimism because it feels necessary, because the fight must continue regardless of how steep the odds are. What do you recommend to people? How are you contending with this moment?
Well, I didn't say I was pessimistic. I just said I've never seen it darker than it is right now. But what to say? You know, a couple of things. I'm reading right now these days the ancient Hindu epic, the Bhagavad Gita, and so much of it is about the tension in human life within each of us as individuals, but also in human existence between the forces of the ego, greed, acquisition, power, aggrandizement, versus a deeper human value of compassion and love and connection and belonging. So what I'm saying is that this struggle has been going on for a long time. And I'm not a mystic by any means. But, you know, in Hindu times, I'm talking about like 2,000, 2,500 years ago, they talked about ages of cycles that we go through. And they talked about Kali Yuga, which is kind of a dark age. And we're right now in an age of Kali Yuga, of a dark age. But it is cyclical. And we're not the first generation ever, or set of generations ever in human history to go through a very, very dark time. And that human commitment to freedom and to justice and to belonging and to unity, that's continued despite all the dark ages that we've been through. So I have a lot of faith in that'll see us through. Number one. So it is a question of how do we approach what we see right now. Now, unlike you, I was not disappointed or disillusioned by the Bernie phenomenon because I never believed in it. So, so partly our, you know, this word disillusionment, people often say I was disillusioned, and I say, well, would you rather be illusioned or disillusioned? Would you rather believe in fairy tales or would you rather see reality? The idea that Bernie would ever transform the system was, to my mind, I'm not going to, you know, I know you worked with him, so I'm not dismissing the idealism and the, you know, the commitment and the organization and the work that went into it. But I never thought for a minute that even if he won, he wouldn't win. But I never even thought they'd give him a chance to win, which is exactly what happened. So these setbacks don't disillusion me. So what am I saying? I'm saying is that all we can say is, to some degree, to a significant degree, the forces of history are beyond the control of any one particular individual or any one particular generation or cohort. But that doesn't mean we can't contribute. And the question is, to go back to what you said, is, if I can rephrase what you said, is what contribution can we make in the present given what's going on? Not do we give up?
Well, certainly, and I would say that I didn't. I would agree that I did not. I also didn't think that Bernie was going to, you know, bring socialist utopia, and I don't. And I think we all were pretty clear-eyed about the steep odds, as I said before, of him winning. But I think the line that people are trying to balance on is between not making it so that an understanding of the unlikeliness of success, or what even the limitations of success are going to be because of the broader systemic failures, not keep you from fighting for some kind of improvement, right? And on the other side, there is this fear of a sort of a incrementalism, like being condemned by incrementalism, where if you oversubscribe to the idea that you're only going to be able to make tiny inroads into a very broken system, that's all you shoot for, and you miss opportunities for bigger change. And that sort of calibration and talking through what strategies should be pursued because you're trying to balance those against those two impulses is a lot of the work that gets done on the show and the conversations that get had on this show. But I think more broadly, psychologically, I know for me at least, the that interrogation, those conversations, the struggle to try to find a way forward is a kind of psychological crutch, an emotional crutch, because sort of oversubscribing to the idea that everything is very broken and bad and there's very little to be done. I don't want to misattribute sentiments to you that you didn't say, but you know, however you just characterized it, can slip into nihilism. And I wonder what you would say to that and how you would guard against a more nihilistic approach.
First of all, there's nothing wrong with crutches. Sometimes when people are limping, they can use a crutch.
Sure. I didn't mean it as a bad thing at all.
Yeah. Number one. Number two, I think it's more than a crutch. Because I think I think it's the answer. Because when you talk about engaging in conversations like on your program or outside of it, when you're talking about activism on any level, whether it's in Minneapolis demonstrating against ICE or somewhere else, you know, you're talking about agency, people actually getting engaged, people saying, no matter what's going on, I'm not going to be passive in the face of it. And so that even though we can't control history, if we can keep that sense of agency going, that sense of involvement, that sense that even if I can do little, it's that little still matters. And even if the large forces of history are beyond our control, it does not absolve me of the responsibility and the possibility of making what contribution I can. I think that's not a crutch. I think actually that's the answer as to how to confront the present situation.
Speaking of this sort of question of our broader cultural pessimism, I had a guest on the podcast recently who was joking, not joking, about the wisdom of bringing kids into this world. It's a conversation that's been going on with millennials for years about how we're the first generation to not do as well as our parents, and all of the diagnoses of why that happens, from avocado toast to getting basket weaving degrees at NYU, and all of the misdirections that have been thrown our way until now. The crisis is big enough, widespread enough that it's gained real life recognition as the crisis that it is, and it manifests in different ways. We're obviously talking about a male loneliness crisis as well, but as someone who focuses on childhood trauma, I wonder if you have had an opportunity to weigh in on this phenomenon and how you are feeling about children growing up in this sort of environment, parents being particularly stressed economically and with the psychic burden of all that's going on in the world, and the choices that young adults are facing these days, both because of the constraints of the loneliness that we experience for various reasons in late stage capitalism, and also because the economic implications and the social implications of what it means to be raising a child in this environment.
Well, those are all great questions. But some people argue that I don't, because I'm not a mystic, but that we have these souls and our souls choose to be born into a certain situation, and I'm always thinking, no, I don't go for that. I mean, I was born a Jewish infant under the Nazis. What kind of an idiotic soul would choose to be born in the Second World War under the Nazis? So, but you can't imagine a much more difficult situation than I was born into. I'm not making it personal, I'm just talking generally. But would I rather choose not to be alive? I'm glad I'm alive. I'm glad to have had the life that I've had, despite what I was born into. And people in Gaza are bearing children in the rubble. So how are we to compare ourselves to that situation? And they're welcoming their children. And so that impetus of life to reproduce itself, that's just bigger than any of us. And You can't calculate the value of or the possibilities of human life against the external situation. People have given birth under all kinds of situations. So I don't prescribe. I mean, if somebody wants to say, I don't want to bring a child into this world because I'm not ready to deal with the implications of it, I totally understand. I wouldn't argue with them. But nor would I argue, last time you and I met, we were in New York, and I was there because our first grandchild was born. And we welcome and we celebrate that child, despite the fact that, and she's got a T-shirt, "Babies for Mamdani," But I'm so glad that that baby exists. So I don't think that the question you're asking is one to be resolved intellectually. It's true. You have to be realistic about what kind of a world you're bringing a life into. But people have brought life into situations far worse than anything else, than anything that anybody in North America faces today.
And yet there's also these counterexamples, right? Obviously, people have chosen not to have kids. People have, we're talking about if we're talking about the male loneliness epidemic, one of the signposts of it are very high rates of self-harm. I was recently talking about, we were having like a literature conversation with a friend, and I was remarking about Beloved and how much I loved the book and never want to read it again because it was so traumatic, and the choice to take one's own child out of the world because one's own circumstances are so horrible. I mean, there are, obviously it's a literary example, but certainly it is the case that people have made the opposite choice. And I guess what I'm interested in is less what the individual choice, because it is that sort of an individual choice, but what more and more people opting out, or at least having a conversation about opting out, says about society, and if this is something that should be fixed. So, there's a stat that says something like, I don't want to make it up, but just a historically low number of millennials will be unmarried without children at age 50. I think it's going to be like 44% of millennials will be unmarried with no children when they hit 50.
Yeah.
So their behaviors are changing for one reason or another. And then there's this pushback, largely from the right, that says we're having a fertility crisis. It's obviously very racially coded. It's a white, it's a white fertility crisis. We need fewer immigrants and more white natives, and everyone needs to drink milk, or whatever the Department of Agriculture is saying right now.
Yeah.
So something, it seems to be happening. And there are some on the left, a couple years ago, Elizabeth Brinding wrote an article about how the left needs to not abandon the kind of natalist conversation because we don't want to cede that ground to the right. And I'm curious, is this something? Do you think there's something, an argument, a debate, a push that the left should be involved in? Or are we simply Changing us as a society, and these are sort of rational choices people are making to put their time, energy, and ability to support into other kinds of social structures outside of the family? Or is this indicative of a lack of connection more broadly that is in fact a problem, whether or not it's solved with childbearing?
Well, can I do some shameless product placement here?
Please, please.
All right. So here's my most recent book, The Myth of Normal, Trauma, Illness, and Healing in a Toxic Culture. Okay? And I'm putting it's a New York Times bestseller, published 43 languages. It deals with the nature of the society and the relationship of individual illness, malfunction, dysfunction to the nature of the culture. So you mentioned
Happy to see you again. A trade? What do you propose? Gods among us, these incredible creatures. How anyone... I don't mean to be coy, but you'll need to be patient. I just can't tell you right now. I am simply livid. I don't know if they're Macmillan's boys or not, but they're killers, for certain. A squadron of bloody blisters waiting to be burst. These men will not stop cracking away with their guns and stinking up the air with their cheap cigarettes. We're not bad fellows, we're just making money for our families. At what cost? If you would be so kind, this troop have camped nearby, and they'll be there long enough for you to pay them a visit. One they'll remember, if you catch my meaning. I'm not a violent person, but they deserve what's coming their way. Will you please see that they get it
take a step back and look at us? Just the other day, we was a bunch of grown men running around after a damn beaver. Oh, I'm glad my pa ain't alive to see that.
We move on after we sell this, yes? People have been asking questions in town.
Hey, shut up in there! Got me some blisters, traipsing all after this one. If I never see Lemoyne again, it'll be too damn soon. Every time I'm back, it's worse than it was before. And I'd sooner sit in that damn cage. Damn noisy critter, shut up!
You know, it's a pleasure working with you gentlemen. You ask very few.
We got competition!
here right now. Come out! When I get my hands on it, you done, you piece of crap! You're done for!
You get now or there'll be trouble. You some mix of stupid? Get or I'll pull my pistol. This is a big mistake!